Hi, Lavas. If I'm showing up in your subscriber feed and you don't know why, it's probably because you subscribed to me about 4 or 5 years ago when I was last making YouTube videos on this channel. I, at that point, was studying Lithuanian and working on finding out more about my grandfather's homeland of Lietuva. And I have to apologize because I just up and abandoned that channel. But I actually have a pretty good reason why I did that, and I'm going to tell you why. It's actually because I got a new job at the State Department where I was working on US Lithuania relations. It was a job called the Lithuanian Desk Officer, and it meant that I got to have meetings at the Lithuanian embassy, go to Lithuanian events, and even actually travel to Lithuania for work, and overall kind of be the coordinator for the US Lithuania relations, especially in the diplomatic sense. And the reason I left this channel is that as a government employee who was working on Lithuanian affairs, I couldn't really make videos about Lithuania unless I got them, maybe I could if I got them approved by all the relevant authorities. And I honestly didn't really have time at all to make them, not to mention to try to get them approved. But what I want to talk about in this video actually is that I would never have gotten the job that I got, the Lithuania desk officer job at the State Department, if not for my journey to learn Lithuanian of all things, right? I have had so many Lithuanians over the years ask me, why are you learning Lithuanian? That's just not that practical. And I'm here to tell you it is practical. It got me a whole job. I was working in the visa office of the State Department, which is very different from the kind of work that the political and desk officer type people do. And so it's not like a normal path to go from visa officer to desk officer. And I had actually recently gotten this job that I was in. And while visas weren't the most exciting, what was exciting about this job that I was in was that it was working on supporting embassies and their visa operations, and I got to support a few embassies in Eastern Europe, to include Ukraine. Very happy to be working on that part of the world. But what I did not know is that in August of 2021, when I got this job, is what would be happening in Ukraine just a few short months later. And so, as you can imagine, it was kind of a wild time to be in that job, supporting Embassy Kyiv in the run up to and then after the full-scale invasion by Russia. And it was super busy, I have to say. It was obviously nothing like the chaos and the trauma of the people who had to evacuate from the embassy, or even more so, Ukrainians themselves who had to experience this. But it was super, super busy at first. And then actually what happened is our folks from our embassy in Kyiv were all ordered to be departed right before the invasion. They all left, many coming back to the US, or otherwise were helping us in our office. And so while it was a crazy time, what ended up happening is we had all of these folks who had really relevant experience who were helping in this process, which was great, because it was around this time that this job opening came open on our internal job announcements page, and it was for the Lithuania desk officer. I sent it to my best friend at work, and she immediately just wrote back, "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God." And so I had this niggling feeling that this was the perfect job for me, and I also might magically also be pretty qualified for it. And so when I applied, and when I did my interview, I highlighted, of course, prominently the fact that I have been studying Lithuanian. And actually, my Lithuanian classes also helped me prepare for my interview because we covered a lot of Lithuanian history, Lithuanian current affairs, and Lithuanian politics, thanks in large part to my very politically aware and politically savvy language teacher. So if you are watching this, I won't say who you are, but you know who you are, and labe acho. So I got the interview, and I, thought it went relatively well, but it's hard to tell. And they had said that they were going to be trying to make a decision very quickly. And so when I didn't hear back from them for weeks, I started to get pretty concerned. And I emailed somebody in that office, and they said, "Oh, no, we're working on it. We hope to make decisions finalized very soon." And so it was very soon thereafter that I got a call on my cell phone from a number that I recognized because it was the number of the person who was working on this job from HR. And I was actually in a virtual meeting already. Luckily, it was a cameras off meeting, but I was in a meeting, and I just muted myself and picked up this phone call because I was like, this is the most important call of my career, maybe. And he offered me the job. And then I had to go through the rest of this meeting as if I hadn't just gotten my dream job, which is probably the hardest part about all of it. So a few days after I got that job, I actually met up with my aunt on my Lithuanian side, who happens to also work in DC. We met up for a coffee and a catch up. And I told her that I got this job working on the Lithuania desk. And her first words were, "Your grandfather would be so proud." And it took everything in me to not cry in that Starbucks in downtown DC, right? When somebody tells you something like that. And so I'm no longer in that job. That this was 4 years ago. So I am planning to resume my channel. I want to talk about kind of things that are happening now and in the past in the US-Lithuania relationship, and using my kind of inside insight from being the desk officer who literally for my job worked on US-Lithuania relations and monitored Lithuanian news. And I think it'll be really interesting to look at kind of what's happened recently and what happened throughout my time at the Lithuania desk with the benefit of hindsight and maybe with a little nostalgia, to be honest. So follow along if you want to keep up with my future videos on these topics. And thanks for watching. Thank you.